Hi, Michael Brown again. Welcome back to Educator.com's Adobe Photoshop CS6 course. We're getting started here on Photoshop, and you may be just a little bit apprehensive, but I want to assure you that although I said this earlier, that Photoshop is a very large program with a lot of stuff, it's really fairly easy. And I have taken Photoshop and simplified it, and almost everything that you will be doing or can do in Photoshop can be organized down into 4 primary categories. And if you learn all the tools and functions in those 4 categories, you have at your fingertips more than 95% of what Photoshop has to offer. The rest of it you will utilize all of those functions to do. So that's the key, the 4 primary categories. Also, in this lesson, I'm going to go over some essential tools and the shortcuts. And I'd like to stress again that in an earlier lesson, I showed you the single key and 2 key shortcuts, and hopefully you took screenshots and printed those. If not, go back and find the lesson and do that. If you learn the single key shortcuts for the tools and the 2 key shortcuts, and I mean Command on a Mac, Control on a PC, plus a single letter, simple shortcuts, it will cut down your work time dramatically. The amount of time it takes me to go to the zoom tool and back to do something, that was about 1 second, maybe even a half second at best, and then go back again to go to another tool and back to the zoom tool and back and another tool. If you can knock that down completely and save a half a second a move, you multiply that out over hundreds and thousands of moves in a couple of 3 hours, you've saved yourself an enormous amount of time, and it also allows you to focus on what you're doing. I can't stress enough the importance of learning the shortcuts. All right, so let's get started. Here's the chart that I have here, where I have divided Photoshop into its 4 basic categories and the tools and shortcuts. I might suggest that you stop the video, take a screenshot of this chart, and print it out for reference. That way you can be aware of everything as we move along and how they relate to each other. So let's get started and talk about the basic categories in Photoshop. I've broken this down into the 4 categories: selections, corrections, retouching, and manipulation. Almost everything you do will involve one of these 4 categories or multiples. Selection, these are, by the way, in order of priority.